This is a show called Carbon. It's part of a show which was held at the Science Gallery in Bengaluru, which is a new institution, and it's thinking about how to understand science in its complexities and its context as well. This is David. He was part of the curatorial team and works for the Science Gallery. I'm Ravi Agarwal. I was invited as a guest curatorial advisor by the Science Gallery. This is a selection of 10 works out of I think 37 works in the main gallery. The idea of the show was to think of carbon, which has been demonized because in the time in terms of climate change, we also always think of carbon as the villain of the piece. But incidentally, we wanted to think about carbon as the basic building block of life, because without carbon, there would be no life as we know it. So that the value we put on carbon is actually what we do it, but carbon remains as a very essential idea of planet Earth, life on Earth. And the works here are coming from different kinds of perspectives, both to understand the science behind carbon, but also think of the experience of carbon we have in our lives, but also about carbon in its social and political context, because carbon is also mined as coal and all this. So it's ready to reimagine carbon as something essential, something buried, something in the air and come up. This work here is by a well-known artist, Chantamani, and actually you're meant to navigate. Maybe David, you want to walk through it? So she wants you to experience this as an intimate space, and she's a sculptor. These are kinds of works which differentiates the Science Gallery from a science museum, because a science museum explains science. Here you're experiencing it very differently, hence the idea of the art-science collaboration in a sense. David? And so we'll just take you to a few of the works here. This is a work by David Young.
This is a work by Susan R. She's a British artist who is looking at cloud chambers. Cloud chambers are essentially something that everyone can make at home, but also to understand the effect of cosmic rays high up in the stratosphere. So they send weather balloons up there, and the videos and abstraction of what we see in the cloud chamber itself that she built at home. So it's also talking about life, carbon in the space stratosphere, and it's also talking about C14, which again links back to carbon dating, another use of carbon as we know. Can also help us understand the age of different things.
Questions about when does carbon become radioactive, how does it become radioactive, all these terms we know but we haven't been engaged with. And the artists here were almost all by open call, so it's international open call. And so one of the part of the big curatorial challenge was to decide who to bring in. It's not that they're all fantastic kind of artists, both from the art and science field and the collaborations. This is Kamil, and this is a game.
Yeah, so this piece is created by Jan, again a British artist who does primarily performances, but in this one he's written the story of the game, and the game is talking about supernovas. Again, there's all forms of carbon, and there's carbon deep in space as well. So it's just a gamification of what you can do. It's kind of like Pac-Man. It's fun, it's just for people to enjoy, and it's a retro in the sense that it is an arcade machine you have to build. So, yeah.
And two other things which are very important for a show like this is to make it immersive, experiential, and also tactile. So you saw from that thing. So it's just to bring it back home and also demystify science. And this is done by a group in Bangalore which works on mycelium and mushrooms.
Yeah, it's a group called Nuvedu who work with an artist called Maria. So they've found that chair in the garbage pile, hence it's broken, and then they made a body where the mycelium network could grow. So it kept growing for a while, and then they had to stop the process. But it's also a comment on, again, plastic is also made of carbon, ironically enough, so is the organic form. So it is that take of what superimposes what, and it's about the organic life taking over the inorganic. It's also a commentary on both organic and inorganic has carbon in it after all. So, yeah.
What is organic, what is inorganic? So it goes into the boundaries But all the artists have long practices in what they do, you know. So it's not just one work, there's a body of engagement over years. This is very interesting, it's very visual and it's sort of almost poetic and
Yeah, so this piece is, like Ravi mentioned, it's very poetic. It's to understand how the burning or combustion works. We always think of flames in terms of combustion, but we don't really see what the matter itself is going through. It's also very aesthetic, goes well with our theme of carbon. But the cool technical bit of this is it's not an edited video. It's the artist put a really bright light in the back, matched with the frequency of the flame itself. That's how those flames became invisible. So technically also it's very cool.
So you can't see the flames in this because it's the way it's lit up. Should we go inside? So this is a sort of a retransposition of an actual piece in the Science Gallery around a physical tree, and this is data which was captured from the tree, and you could interact. So this is the data brought here. This is not live here in a sense, but it's interactive as well.
Yeah. So the data is recorded this time last year in Bangalore. The pods that you saw on the floor, they were put on the tree and they collect various types of data, which is carbon dioxide, oxygen, pH level of soil, humidity, rain, wind speed, light. So it's essentially what a tree feels, what are different parameters a tree also engages with. And
if you turn around, then you can see.
So yeah.
It's interactive. And it's interactive in a particular way, so it's showing you different sets of data sets.
Yeah. So it's like how scientists or everyone knows that the age of a tree is told by the number of rings. It's the same take on that, but now it's on a 24-hour cycle. So every hour of the day data is collected and you can go through time essentially. And if I pull it all the way to there, you can see the different rings. So it's a take on how we understand tree and the environment of the tree through rings when we cut a bark, but now on a 24-hour cycle.
The fun take on this age of hydrocarbons based on an ad which the artist did.
So yeah, the artist manipulated an ad which is shown long back by oil companies about the value of oil. But as you start seeing the video, you think there's smaller bonds that start, and she's manipulated in a way that it overpopulates the space and it gets louder and louder and louder. Also a take on how we increasingly being invested in oil now. It started off a small thing, but now it's really taking more of us. And it's also a fun take on the bonds that, again, the carbon atoms have. So, across the room, there's also like a ball and stick model that people can play with. There's a little recipe book there to create different forms of carbon from benzene to alcohol.
And as Quincy pointed, that's a box they made which is going to now travel to 5,000 schools across Karnataka, even in rural schools.
Yeah, especially rural schools. So, schools that won't necessarily have the opportunity to come to us. So we made that. It's called Exhibition in the Box. And all the exhibits that get put up in carbon, very small scale, is put up in there. Also has activities and fun things to do for kids. It's right now in English, but we also have a Kannada version because we want to work with schools in rural areas. So.
Because at the core of the intention of the Science Gallery is to also increase education about science, but also think of science in a more everyday sense. And not separate this thing, something which you do in exams or there's something out there. It's how to relate to it as well. And this is an interesting experiment. It's like a model. It was created by in the Indian Institute of IISC, the Indian Institute of Science Bangalore. And
yeah, so this the model of the plane is a small reconstruction. The patent itself has the patent is for the propeller and wing design, and the larger logic of this is to reduce drag coefficient, therefore fuel efficiency increases, and it's a take on what else we can reimagine to fight climate change. What's interesting about this is it's not really created by artists, it's a bunch of researchers who are at IISc, the patent was there for a while. And when we were doing the show carbon, we were like, hey, what are we missing? And usually works talk to each other like somewhat here. And we were like, oh, we got to do something on this piece. And then we happenstance walk into this one guys who are also our academic partners as well.
There were a number of experiments we brought into it which were done here, like this thing of this creation of life, origin of life experiment, which was shelved somewhere, and we asked them to bring it here and recreate it. So it's one of the earliest experiments done in India on the origin of life, and also some archives we got in from the Raman Research Institute.
Who's also been fascinated with diamonds, so that story about Raman and diamonds.
And one of the sort of stalwarts of Indian science. And this is a two-piece, it's gone on the wrong page. So, about this artist who's looking at the idea of cloud, because at one level the cloud is what's causing, the cloud of carbon is causing climate change. But also the cloud is what we do when we store data on the internet, and that's really causing climate change because it's so energy intensive. So there is this modeling done by the scientists to see the interaction between the two.
It's again a take on the digital cloud versus the cloud, and what is every action that we do have a larger consequence. So it's a gamified version of like you press buttons and the legend starts increasing. So each action could be for like communication, it could be for storage, and then what does that do to the actual clouds? So that's a fun take on that. And the video is just for explaining the same thing, but it's still art. Therefore, it's abstracted. It's also a way to make things fun. The larger question is to question everything that we do, but still make it interesting.
And there's one more work. So this is from the coal mines of India, and we're thinking about the idea of labor, the idea of mining of coal, extraction, and these are minor songs which have been gathered for long by an anthropologist.
So Dheeraj Kumar had collected this a long time back. He was doing interviews, research, ethnography, with people of Coleman, Jharkhand, and this so happened to be in his recording for cassettes and everything. Digitize it, put it out. So we wanted to show sound piece, but also make a comment on the human value of creating coal or energy. And also the tools that you see above us is an abstraction of another statue that Dheeraj had photographed back then. And the song itself, the lyrics are put in a bird cage. It's a take on the canary's bird that manages to take them down the shafts. So the bird died and the place is walking outside.
Carrying the coal mine. That's what we got here.
Yeah, it's about all the things that are. There were a lot more things back at the gallery. Again, it's not just one form of art or one form of science, all the different things that we take. Usually we try to make them talk to each other. In a more fun, interactive way, we don't like anything in Science Gallery to be untouched or behind a glass shelf. So everything that we see here is usually just touch. We just don't say sit on the chair. That's all it's about.
And this was the inaugural show for the new physical building. They had shows before, but they have been in different places. This is the first show in the space of their own.